the realms of self-discovery and transformation. My name is Christy, and today I'm joined with my co-host, Jen.
Hi, everyone. We're here to guide you on a journey of spiritual exploration, connecting you with experts from various modalities who will inspire and enlighten you.
And today we have an extraordinary guest with us, Stacee Magee, a world-renowned medical intuitive, self-proclaimed psychic widow. Her unique approach to spirituality has touched the lives of countless individuals, providing them with profound insights and guidance. Now, Stacee is a Reiki master teacher, an ICF credentialed life coach, certified pranic healer, minister, patented inventor, published author, public figure and speaker. Oh my God, that's such a mouthful. And her upcoming book, Tattoo Medicine, promises to offer even more wisdom and knowledge. Welcome, Stacee.
Hi.
So let's dive into this free-flowing conversation and explore the depths of Stacee's expertise, all while gaining a deeper understanding of our spiritual journeys. Welcome, Stacee.
Beautiful. Welcome, Stacee. So good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun.
It is. Beautiful. Stacee, your work as a medical intuitive and psychic widow, I love that is so self-proclaimed, is absolutely fascinating. I find it so fascinating. I follow you on TikTok. I have for years, and I've watched your journey. It's been absolutely amazing. Can you share how you discovered these unique abilities and how they've shaped your path?
My gosh, as you look back on things, you're like, oh, there's a lot of evidence that this has been going on since I was like, yay high, right?
Yeah.
I can actually distinctly remember back in about 2011 where I was like, God, why did you give me these spiritual gifts? I don't know what to do with them. Take them away. Which is like, never ask spirit to take your gifts away because they always come back full force. And so, fast forward, I had a spiritual awakening. 2015. I feel like I've had multiple ones even when I was a teenager, but I digress. And nearly died from a septic lung infection in Las Vegas, of all places.
Wow.
And that was just this moment of like clarity of like, poof, you have something amazing. Here's your gifts. Get your ass back in this. But it took me a long time to fully understand what my gifts were. I don't know that I still fully understand them, and one of my good friends, Des Stevens from Radiant Coaches Academy, where I certified as a life coach, was the one who actually was like, I think you're a medical intuitive. And I was like, what the hell's that? Because like I didn't know what the clairs meant. I didn't know any of this stuff. I always say like I'm a self-taught person because I am. And the story goes where we were in class and I was actually there as her business strategist, helping her develop her company. And so I was just taking the course to understand it. And she's going around the class and she's like, okay, everybody say something intuitively you feel about me. And everyone's like, oh, you like dogs. Oh, you like the color pink, whatever. And I was like, so there's this cloudiness in your brain. And she was like, what? Yes, but see me after class. And I was like, oh, shit, now I'm in trouble. What did I do? And that's when she's like, I think you're a medical intuitive. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay. And then she started to explain it. I was like, oh, wow, everything's starting to make sense now. Okay, that's how I know when people are sick. Got it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So interesting.
Long journey, for sure.
So, Stacee, in your book, My Spiritual Awakening is a Shit Show. I love the title, by the way. You share your journey of self-discovery. So what were some of the pivotal moments that led you to embrace this unconventional path?
I think that it's one of those things where I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was like, spirits are waking me up at night. I kept running into people with illnesses and they would ask me questions and I knew the answers and they're like, how do you know this? I think the most pivotal moment though was, and I may cry with this. This has been 5 or 6 years at this point. My really good friend Louisa's son passed away. And I remember about 3 months before he passed, it was like I just knew that he was going to pass away. And I was like, what the hell do I do with this? I don't know what to do. And he actually went into the hospital once, came out, and then like they're like, oh, he's okay. And I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. And then fast forward about 3 more weeks, and he passed away from myocarditis on a vacation from that original hospital visit. And I was like, oh shit, I knew, and then I started listening to the things that I knew about people, like the things that I had this knowing. And I was like, oh, and that was kind of that moment where I was like, I got to do something with this to help people, because I'm knowing these things that maybe I could have told her, hey, something's still wrong with him. Like I knew when my grandma was going to pass, and I was able, not everybody listened to me, but I was able to call my whole family, grandma's going to pass away soon, go visit her. And I listened to that, and I was actually able to go visit my grandma before she passed, which was a great blessing. So those are kind of some of those more pivotal moments where I was like, okay, I have to do something with this. And then that culmination of the biggest thing was in 2019, I owned a book publishing company with a high school friend, and it just didn't work out. I won't go into it because it was a mess, but I basically signed over the entire company to her. And I was literally on my floor in my bedroom crying. And I was like, okay, God, universe, whoever the fuck is out there, why did you give me these gifts? Why do you give me these abilities? Because I thought I was there to help her too. And that wasn't the answer either. And I said, look, make me an instrument in thy peace. Tell me what you want me to do. Show me the people you want me to help. Because I know I have these gifts, but I have no fucking clue how to find these people that I'm supposed to help. And then I found TikTok, and I just started posting random shit that I knew. And all of a sudden my account just went poof. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is what we're doing. Like I wasn't even prepared to do readings or anything. And I had someone like, hey, do you do readings? And I was like, not really, but sure, I'll put them up on a website. And I made the website in like 20 minutes, and it got booked out 6 months in advance. And I was like, oh, hey, here we go. So that was just like evidence. There's your path, move on it. And I've been trying to navigate it ever since.
Yeah, I think I recall watching back, like this is when we've sort of probably both landed on TikTok around the same time. I love how it draws people to you that are like really your avatar, like the people that actually want you in their life, like they're open to your information. And I feel like that helps open us up too, right? I think my first sort of like watching you go through that, I think I watched you go through a burnout. Like, were you offering your services for free at some point? Am I correct in thinking that?
I was, and I still do a little bit in a way, but more controlled. But now,
yes, because I think I saw you go like, I can't remember. I think it might have been. I mean, this is going back quite a few years, and it stuck with me because one thing that I had to learn on my journey was that fair energetic exchange. And when we're not getting that fair energetic exchange, people aren't respecting your time because they're not paying for your services. There's no shows. There's people that take your, like, they're just there. Like, it's more of a grab, right? An energy grab. And that's like what causes that drain. And I had experienced something similar and then realized now, to me, that's feedback that I need to either shorten what I'm doing, like shorten my time, or increase my price a little bit so that there's that fair energetic exchange. And I'm not saying charge like exorbitant fees, and like, we invest a lot in ourselves. Just because we're working in the spiritual realm doesn't mean that we need to live lifelessly on a floor in a hovel, right? We still need to service ourselves so we can show up in alignment for these people, energetically. So it was really interesting watching you go through that, and I really admired how you openly spoke about that online.
Yeah, I tell my audience, like, I will always be open about everything with my journey with you, because I'm an imperfect human, and I don't want to be put on a pedestal where someone thinks I'm perfect and I'm like this Zen master guru, and then I fall off. I don't want that. And I also want people to realize they don't have to be perfect to walk on that path. And I learned my lessons the hard way. And, when I first started, Spirit was like, I don't want you to charge for this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I didn't.
Mm.
And as I go along, Spirit was like, okay, you can charge now. And I was like, why the fuck did you tell me not to charge? And Spirit's like, you wouldn't have listened to me. You wouldn't have understood. And I'm the type of person, like, I need to know why before I believe it.
Yeah.
And so Spirit's like, you wouldn't have believed me. And I was like, fine, fair game. So now, I still do some free readings, but they're on my terms. This like my special needs autistic readings, I still offer those for parents for free, because I'm like, how fucked up would that be to say, like, hey, I can telepathically communicate with your kid, you can't pay me? To me, that's so fucked up. So, but I do it in a group setting. And I do give them the opportunity, like, hey, you're not required to, but if you want to give me a gift of gratitude, you're welcome to. And some people do, and some people don't, and I'm okay with that. But those are primarily the ones that I still do for free, unless I feel called, like, specifically to work with someone.
I love that. I love that. I think, for me, it was more at the start of my journey, or when I'm because I'm self-taught too, and at the moment I've got something channeling through. I have no fucking idea what it is, but it's coming through, and I'm giving it space for it to land. And I know when that comes through, I'll be offering it for free for a while, because to me, that fair energetic exchange, I'm learning from that. So I'm still gaining from that, but I've learned to now listen to my body to know when that shifts and when the time is right for charging. And if I choose to pay that forward, then I'm sure Spirit will absolutely guide me to that. Now, you just spoke about the autistic and special needs children. You've been helping autistic and special needs children to find their voice, right? How has this work impacted your spiritual journey and the way that you approach your healing practices?
The perspective that I have of the world now because of these children is just completely changed. Because I think when I first started this, I didn't really know what to think. I just realized one day, oh my God, I can communicate with nonverbal kids. It was this whole experience that happened. But for me, it's made me more open to realizing that everything that I thought was like this finite box really is not. And that everyone has a voice, even if their body doesn't function in the way that other people's bodies function. And that was really profound. And it was profound for me to hear over and over from these children very similar things, that they wanted autonomy. They wanted to be able to make choices. A lot of them say they think I'm stupid. I'm not. I just can't get my thoughts from my brain to my mouth. And that I just trusted was what was true for so many years. And recently, I was actually part of a scientific study for medical intuitives. And this lady also published, or she was not a publisher, a producer for a TV show called Spellers, where they taught nonverbal autistic kids how to use iPads and to spell out their needs and wants. And I shared this with her, and she goes, oh my God, that's literally the same thing we learned from these children once we taught them to communicate with these iPads. And I was like, oh my God, I was like so on point with that. That's awesome, So it's beautiful. Their souls and their energy is just, it's like perfect and loving. And it just makes me, I don't know, it just helps me understand so many things about the world, but also myself, because I'm also autistic. I'm like, oh, I understand why this happens now,
Yeah. And, I think, the perception of autism in the world is a little bit misguided. Like I've friends with children on the spectrum. I suspect potentially one of my children is on the spectrum. I suspect potentially I'm on the spectrum. But like, where does that spectrum start and finish? And what parts of that are actually our superpower? Can we use to like really like harness that and show up in the world, right?
I have an answer for this.
Yeah, tell me.
So when I first started the spiritual journey, I didn't know what the clairs were. I was like, Clara, what? A Huda? Yeah. I don't know, like, what the hell is that shit? But I've realized that all the clear gifts perfectly mirror with medical diagnoses when it comes to different synesthesias.
Wow. Can
And
you
so,
expand on that word synesthesia for those that don't understand the word?
sure. So synesthesia, and so you think about like me, I have something called mirror touch synesthesia, which I use for my medical intuition. And so what it means is I feel in my body the same thing someone else feels when they're sick, which is why I burn out so easily, because when I'm doing medical intuitive readings, if you're sick, I feel sick, right? And so there's different kinds of synesthesias where it's such essentially science defines it as a neurological condition, which information that's kind of meant to stimulate some of your senses like taste, touch, smell, sound, is different, right?
Yeah.
And so there's different people that have like auditory synesthesia and, like me, the mirror touch synesthesia. And so there's like different kinds. But I started to realize that, oh my God, all of those types of synesthesia are directly connected with clairs. And I started thinking about this more, and I was like, so this means that the autistics are spiritual people, and it really clicked with me one day. My friend sent me this video of people at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, and when they're praying, what are they doing? They're rocking. Right? When I receive from spirit, I rock back and forth. When autistic are like overstimulated or they're stimming, rocking is a common thing. And it just started to make me realize, like, oh shit, these are shamans. These are the spiritually gifted people.
Wow.
And the whole world is trying to make them act normal instead of help them open up and connect,
Yeah, wow. As you're speaking that just then, I just had this realize, because everything is energy, right? Like we are omnipresent, and I believe that we're all, this is just my belief, I just believe that we are all fully connected and we're all part of this one energy, like creation itself. Like we are creation, right? We're part of that. And it's almost like that, we receive through this subtle energy body that is running through us. It's almost like, for you, it's like that subtle energy body, that mirror sense that you can sense into people's illnesses is almost heightened, right? So when you come in contact with people, or when you're doing your sessions with people, it's just there. Like it feels like it's part of you because it is. You're just more in tune to it.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, like, they're like, oh my God, your gifts are so amazing. I'm like, I just learned how to listen better than other people, maybe. But, that's it, it's just listening. But, there, and that's, I think, why I burnt out, though, is because I didn't understand how to shield and protect myself. And I still can't fully do it properly to where it's not physically painful or draining to me. And so I have to very much limit how often I work with people, and like I'm limited, like 3 calls a day, 3 days a week. That's cool,
Yeah. So you've just worked out how to work with it. Yeah. Perfect.
Like, don't go out into public as much as you normally do, and like I won't go to IKEA right before I have sessions the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So, Stacee, your upcoming book, Tattoo Medicine. I love that name. I love all of it. Can you give us a sneak peek into what readers can expect to find in its pages?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really, really excited. We're actually finishing editing it right now. So Tattoo Medicine it really came from working with all of my clients. And it was actually originally from the birthmarks, where I was like, hold on a second, the birthmarks on someone's body have meaning. Oh, they're connected to their personal, soul journey. And okay. And then I was like, wait, if birthmarks have meaning, maybe tattoos do. And I actually had this epiphany when I was, with a medical demonstration where they had a machine that could scan your energy field. And the lady's like, oh, you got a tattoo. I noticed everybody with tattoos have energy depletions. And I was like, that means they're releasing energy. Oh shit, that means they're helping people heal. And so tattoo medicine is really this book that talks about the healing journey that's carried with tattoos and how they help people release traumas, how they talk about someone's personality, you know, how where you put your tattoo is talking about what you're working on healing, what you have healed, what you need to heal. And it's so powerful that this realization that I grew up in the 80s where the only people that got tattoos were prison inmates and biker people. And there's such a stigma around tattoos that it's like maybe we can actually embrace that they actually have this beautiful healing ability, and that they become like a journal on our skin, telling the stories of our lives and our experiences in a beautiful way and saying, look, like I've had so many things happen to me, but I'm still standing and I'm still resilient. So
yeah, I love that. I actually, on your website, you had a quiz that you could figure out, or you were talking to where you put your tattoos on your bodies and their meaning. And I was really intrigued because I've got mine on my back, and it's kind of from the left but to the right, so it's like balance, and it says life is rhythm, and it made so much sense when you were talking about it. Actually defined it as my feminine energy coming into my masculine. Well, that's how I kind of read it, because it was balanced, but healing the past. And I was like, oh my God, that was around the time that I was going through a relationship breakdown and kind of putting those things in the past. So I was like, that was on point. It was amazing.
Yeah, it still kind of blows me away where I'll tell people like this is the meaning that I've downloaded from Spirit, and they're like, oh yeah, like that totally resonates. I'm like, really? Wow, cool.
I'm gonna. I grew up in the 80s as well, and I think I'm gonna be the old lady in the nursing home that's like, they'll just refer to me as the clean skin because I don't have any tattoos. I want a tattoo, I just can't decide on one or where to put it.
Yeah, I'm like you. I have 3 small ones now, and I want another one, but I'm like, this is such a super big decision. Like,
it is. It's a big decision.
Yeah. Well, and now that I know about the healing stuff too, it's like, well, what do I want to heal, and what should I heal, and where should I release the energy? And like,
hang on, can we just pour it over our whole self?
Right.
And they can't rub that stuff out either.
Kind of hard to take them off. So
just a little bit. Okay, I've got a question around the tattoos. If someone was looking, like now that whoever's watching or listening to this understands that there's actual meaning behind the tattoos, what is one piece of advice that you can give someone that is looking at having a tattoo, but where to put it? Do they just listen to their intuition, their guidance? What would you recommend?
What I have found is that you will just gravitate to the area that you need to heal, right? You'll gravitate to the area that has an energetic weakness or an energetic condition that needs support. Like you can look at me where I got my tattoos when I was 18 and 19, and that was, oh my God, I'm going to make myself sound so old. That was 25 years ago. And at that age, I had no idea why I was putting them there. I just felt drawn to those areas. And now I'm like, okay, my right shoulder tattoo, of course, I never had support from any masculine figures in my life. I was always carrying the burdens. No wonder I put a tattoo on my right shoulder. My left ankle, I never trusted myself to walk in my spiritual gifts or my path. I never trusted myself to be myself. No wonder I got a tattoo on my left ankle. And so, I think the advice I would give to people is don't overthink it. Just be like, where am I drawn to putting that tattoo?
Yeah.
Don't listen to what everybody else tells you to put it, but like, where do I feel like I need to put that? And your subconscious will probably tell you where to put that tattoo.
Yeah.
So, of course they can read my book later and be like, oh yeah, I need to heal like the forearm, great place for
Yeah.
narcissistic abuse. I need to heal from narcissistic abuse. I want a forearm tattoo. Sure, go ahead and do that. But, so many people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm breaking up with my boyfriend. Where should I get my tattoo? Well, tell me about your relationship, because, I need to know, and I can scan their energy usually and tell where they need to get it. But it depends. I mean, was he, a narcissist? Was he just neglectful? Was he a cheater? There's going to be 3 different areas, right? So
yeah, beautiful. There is someone on TikTok, I haven't seen them for a while, but you engage this person for a tattoo, and you don't know where you're getting the tattoo or even what you're getting until you turn up, and it's all like intuitively hand drawn, and there's like a whole ritual around it. I was like, oh, like all of her tattoos are beautiful, but I'm like, oh, I know if I could risk that. Such a big decision, but it, to me, just her work is absolutely amazing. I think that if I do choose to get a tattoo, I think now that I've spoken to you, taking that advice under the wing, I think I would tune into the image of what that tattoo is and ask where it needs to be on my body.
Yeah,
I think that's what I would do, and listen to that flow of thought.
Well, and that's the thing too. You got to think about like the letters, the numbers, the colors, the image is all going to play into it. Like I had somebody ask me, should I get a tarot card tattooed on me? I'm like, oh, hell no. That's
Why?
an open portal. To me, it's an open portal.
Totally.
Right?
I'm like, why would you do that to yourself?
Right? Same reason. Don't get your partner's or your best friend's name tattooed on it. And the reason why is that you write their name on you, and the soul's like, there's no connection to this person. There's no blood connection, and it's gonna push that further away. I mean, even tattoo artists have noticed the breakup thing. But like think about animals, and even there's meaning that people have attached. Like we look at Medusa as being, the tattoo for people who've experienced sexual traumas, and so they've collectively put energy towards that tattoo and that meaning, just like the semicolon with suicide awareness, right? And so that tattoo now carries significant meaning, with that. And so you can get that meaning, or you look at the animals. What do the animals mean? What is the energy, the colors that you're putting on your body and stuff like that. So yeah, I go all in about I can't talk today, all about that in my book, but we could talk for hours on that.
we could. I have a question, another question for you. As a Reiki master and certified pranic healer, you offer courses to guide others in their spiritual development. How do these modalities contribute to one's awakening and self-discovery process?
Everything that we learn puts us further on a path. Even like with me, like I don't technically do a lot of Reiki healing right now, but it helps me understand the world of energy and things around me, and so like with my medical intuition class that I had doctors, massage therapists, nurses, and Reiki masters and regular people in there, and everyone is using that modality differently. And I remember the massage therapist, like, she's like, I'm really not going to do readings for people. So how do I utilize this? And I was like, well, this is for you more than anybody, because you're going to know exactly where your clients need extra body work, where to touch them, where to release that stuff. And so they learn a lot of really valuable things in that. I don't know. I'm a lifetime learner, so I'm always, like the more you know, the more you're expanded in your understanding, and it doesn't always lose everything. But I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I think it does. Like, I think, this is the alchemy of life, right? It all contributes. Like for me and my journey, I went on this Taoist tantric, like, love, sex, and relationship coaching path, and become a women's intimacy coach before before Spirit went, hey, you're here to teach. I'm like, you haven't spoken to me in 2 years, and now you're coming to tell me I'm going to teach, right? But what I know now is I had to go on that other journey first to be able to bring the tools into what I teach today. And this is just how we show up in the world. Like, they're just tools, right? Yep. I do want to sort of get some clarity around for our listeners, Reiki and pranic, because there's all different forms of healing. What is the difference between Reiki healing and pranic healing?
Well, Reiki has a really kind of set, thing. We use set symbols for releasing, set symbols for cleansing. To me, I look at Reiki as, as someone being depleted in energy, how can I bring back that energy to their body and kind of re-energize things? When I look at pranic healing is almost the opposite, where there's a lot of sweeping the energy, a lot of cleansing the energy and removing that energy before you're energizing. Pranic healing gets a little bit more complicated, I feel, than Reiki. I feel like Reiki is something that's really simple and easy for like anybody to learn. Pranic healing gets into, okay, you need to send violet white light gently to this chakra, and there's more chakras to do and things like that. But they're both really great modalities that even someone that's like, I don't know if I'm a healer or not, can learn and help heal people. In fact, Master Co, which is one of the master healers here in US, he was an engineer, I believe, and his wife broke her leg and her hip. And he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm sending you white light. I'm sending this. And he just followed these protocols. And his wife healed, I think in a third of the time that she was supposed to heal.
Wow.
He was not supposed to ever walk again, and she did. And so these are both modalities that are really simple, easy ways to heal. I have always had my own healing gifts, but I didn't understand the world of energy around me. And so those courses and certifications help me understand what's a chakra, how does energy move, why does it move, and things like that. And so now I kind of mishmash my own stuff with Reiki and pranic healing. And I do more of like a spirit-led work now.
Alchemy.
Yeah, and it works.
Bringing it all together, it does. And I think this is the thing, right? I think this is what we're meant to do in life. It's not just one set way. And I say this to people, you can just go and learn Reiki and just be a Reiki master, or you can listen. Again, this is more like listen to where you're being intuitively led, follow that path, learn that, because it might even just be one gold nugget in the whole thing that brings together exactly what you need in life, right? This is a journey of expansion. We're here, we're evolving beings, we're expanding beings. Just keep leaning in and keep investing in yourself.
Yeah, and personal intuition, personal discernment is so important. I remember actually when I had my spiritual awakening in 2015, I remember going to my mom and being like, how come everybody else has intuition? Mine's broke. I don't know how to make it work. I don't know how to listen. And so there was even a moment where I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to listen. And now it's like, I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but there's still times when I don't listen. Right?
We're human, right?
Right? But I don't know. It's about listening. And when you use your intuition, and I teach this in my course to my people, because they're like, well, what if, I actually had some lady come to me and she's like, well, I know you said when you see orange in someone's energy, it means they're sick with this. But when I did a reading, it meant something totally different for that person. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, of course it is. Because for me, you could have someone who's a medium and be like, when I see a rose, it means love. When I see a rose, it means conceit and deception. Right?
Yeah.
I don't like roses. I think roses are just overdone. And when someone shows me a rose, I'm like, oh, this person might be a narcissist. They might be deceiving someone. There might be some, fake love energy with that. So everybody gets their own different ways of how they work.
Totally.
And that's really important and valid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing that in my programs, when I teach people how to connect to spirit, I take them, I say, the one thing I say right up front is, I'm here, I'm teaching you from my experience. This might not be the way for you. So I take them into processes so they get to experience things for their own unique self, because we are all vibrating differently. We're all different frequencies. We receive differently. And then we've got the humanness inside of us that has beliefs and value systems, and we've got this whole filter system in here because of our experiences. So we're going to assign different meanings to our oracle cards, or to the visions we have, to the words we hear. It's just go through, and I always say, if someone tells you this is the only way, run a mile. Because it's not, right?
Yeah.
It's not. You're you, and you're going to experience things differently, potentially way differently than I do.
Yeah.
Rules are meant to be broken. I always tell my people, learn the rules and then you break them.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Have some structure and trust. This is the trust piece, right? The intuition. And I always say the trust piece is the last piece that drops in. We have to go on a journey to understand what's coming through, and we slowly build that trust with ourselves, because most of us step over our own boundaries. We actually, create that distrust inside of ourselves, and it takes time to repair that, just like it does if someone breaks our trust. There's a time we've got to really rebuild that trust back. Same with us. So
definitely. So many women in our target audience are going through a spiritual awakening and seeking purpose and direction. What advice would you have for them to help navigate that transformative journey?
I think that when you go through a spiritual awakening, you have certain expectations, that you're going to be like, you're going to wake up the next morning and like you're going to just glow and like everything's going to work. And I would say releasing expectations is super important of what a spiritual awakening is, how it's going to feel. And we think like it's going to be this journey. Like when I had my spiritual awakening, I was like, okay, awesome, here we go. And then it was like, it's like up and down and all over. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is this not easy? Right? Because you think like, I'm in spirit. I'm like, I should just automatically be this Zen master guru. But then you're not. And you trip and you fall and you learn and you grow. And, you'll even have these moments where you're like, oh my God, maybe I wasn't healing. Maybe I'm moving backwards. Why is this coming back into my life? But even if you have that awareness, like, oh, there's a repeating pattern, you're growing, right? And everything is not happening to you, but for you. So be open to the journey and be open to sometimes it being amazing and beautiful and awesome, and other times being, like my book, a shit show. Ugly and messy and crying on the floor and begging God for mercy, right?
I love that. I hear people often ask me, oh my God, I don't think I'm having a spiritual awakening, because it's not like this big bang. So many of us have this big bang moment that's like this pivotal or catalyst that kind of literally rocks our world and throws us. But then there's also these other people that just have this beautiful, gentle awakening, and they're like, I don't think I am, because it's not like that. Like we go into this comparison, right?
Yeah.
Like I want what she's having. So if she's having that and I'm having this mustn't be real.
Well, and what I've noticed, especially when it comes to like aura colors, and like I have like the pink and blue behind me. People with pink auras tend to be the ones that are like forced into these messy spiritual awakening, where they're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. No. And then people with the turquoise and the blue are the ones that usually have the more gentle stuff, where they're like, and that's because they're like, they're willing to do it. They're willing to listen and listen to spirit and open up. And the ones that are in messy spiritual awakenings, like myself, my son, oh God, we could even talk about his is super messy, but that's because we resist our gifts. We resist the path. Because I can tell you, like my whole life, I was like, leave me alone. Don't want to see ghosts. Don't want to do this. Dad, don't. I want to be normal. And I spent my whole life trying to be normal. Well, you can't. And then the spirit's like, you're not going to listen. I'm going to just shove your ass in. Good luck. Sink or swim. It's like when I was a kid, my dad, we went to the ocean and he's like, you want to swim? Now I don't advise this as a parenting tactic, because my dad was a little, but he just tossed me in, swim,
That's how I was taught to swim.
Yeah.
Just throw me in the pool,
right? Just like, right? I remember seeing the fishes and I'm like, what? But that's how some spiritual awakenings are, where you're like, I don't want to. And so it's like, you got to, it's good for you. you know, and then other people, like, they're like, yeah, I'll listen. I'll do this. Like, I had another spiritual awakening this year. We can have more than one. And this time I was more like, it was more gentle because I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I see what's going on. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I'll flow with this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I want to come back to your son in a moment, but I've got a question just about your online shop and your live classes. It sounds like you have some really great opportunities for individuals to explore their spirituality in there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about what participants can expect and how it may help them on their path?
Holy guacamole. We have like the kitchen sink over at Spirit Fluent because
yes, you do.
And
Jen's got the link. She's going to pop in the comments right now, and on the podcast, this will be in the stuff underneath.
Yeah, I would say any point in your spiritual awakening journey, there's something for you. You know, from my YouTube where there's free basic classes on chakras and generational healing, to when you go to my website and there's the membership program where there's multiple courses and classes and things you can take. I offer free new classes every month. There's a new class, something different, where you can jump in and learn. We just did Healing the Inner Teen. We're doing a trauma healing specifically focused on Hawaii tonight. So there's always something going on. We have my free Friday healing calls where you can just jump in on Friday nights and sit, and I'll do readings and we'll talk, you can ask questions. And then all the way over to, we have my medical intuitive course, which is a 26-week course. It's a very intensive course. This is like, people kept asking me to teach this, and I was like, I got to do this the right way. So it's intense. It's an intense course. It's a long course, but it's intentionally that way because I want people to know that Spirit Fluent certified people are legit, but also the people who take the course are going like, yeah, I feel like I'm really ready to rock and roll. We also have an intuitive life coach certification, which we're getting ready to start the next round coming up pretty soon, where you can get a double certification. You'll be a certified intuitive coach with Spirit Fluent and also an International Coaching Federation, ICF's credentialed life coach. So you get a dual certification with that. So yeah, and then we have books and readings and, like I said, Spirit Fluent's a kitchen sink. It's really meant to be a gathering place for spiritual humans to come learn and to grow no matter where you are in your journey.
I love that. Sounds so good and juicy. Jen, have you put those links in the comments?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay. Just going back before Christy jumps into your son, when it comes to the tattoo medicine, could you explain just a little bit more about the spiritual significance behind tattoos and how they can actually play a role in a spiritual awakening?
Definitely. So when we look at tattoos, even historically, there's tattoos have a lot of significance, especially to like Maori people or indigenous cultures, where they're used as spiritual rites of passage and things like that. And so, we don't have to move into appropriation to still get those type of benefits, where we can utilize our tattoos as part of our spiritual journey, as part of our spiritual awakening. One of my friends went through her spiritual awakening. She got a tattoo all up and down her spine, with all those significance. And so when you're in a spiritual awakening journey, go into your tattoo session with intention, go in with knowing your artist. I would say, like, don't go in drunk and just pick any person, right?
But you might need to get another tattoo to heal that moment.
Right. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a spiritual preparation that goes into this, right? It's not just choosing the right design and the perfect artist, but also spiritually preparing yourself and setting that intention. Like, this is part of this process that's going to be transformative, and have that intuition and mindfulness when you go into that of, what am I wanting to heal with this tattoo? What am I going to gain? Am I using a symbol of transformation or healing, or personal growth. And really kind of set those intentions, become clear on that energy and that sacred space when you go into that process. And I think that no matter where or what you choose, that you're going to really see that spiritual benefit. And it's just something that you can just run out and get a tattoo and be like, oh, I'm going to get a sun, a moon, a star, or constellation. That's spiritual awakening. My astrology symbol. Or you can be like, no, I'm really setting an intention of where this is going to help me. So I can actually talk about where I'm going to get my tattoo. So I actually notice I keep getting injured on my left leg, which is your spiritual side, right? I struggle greatly with moving forward on my spiritual journey because I'm resistant. I'm like, I don't want to tell everybody about all my gifts. I don't want to heal people. I'm still resistant to this. I'm still like, this is not fun. So I actually chose, I'm going to get a tattoo from my knee all the way down to my ankle, because those are areas that need releasing and balancing. But the symbolism that I'm getting are sunflowers and honeybees. And honeybees have like this beautiful energy with them. They're connected with the universe in a very magical way. And so, I'm looking at like, okay, let me sit with the honeybees and take on the energy of the honeybees with my healing. And, what does the sunflower signify? I can't say the word, signify. And those things. And so there's a great deal of forethought. And so it's like, now I know what I want, but I still haven't found the right artist yet, because I don't want to just have any person, because remember, that person's energy is going to be connecting with you as you get the tattoo as well. So, think about the energy of your artist. If you're just going to any old artist and it's some drunk biker dude, nothing against drunk biker dudes, but the energy may not be the energy you're anticipating if you don't go with intention. I know that there's a few tattoo artists that are really with intentional spiritual art, and there's more that are coming forward every day. I know there's one in Australia, but I cannot remember her name. But anyways, I digress. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Totally does. It totally does. Before I move to my question, Melissa's got a question here. I'm just going to pop it up across the bottom of our screen, because I also have an answer for this, but I'd love to know your thoughts. So,
absolutely.
What do you say to those who say there's no real way to becoming certified?
Well, and when I first started, I was more spirit certified. I was spirit taught. I always say I'm spirit taught, right? I think, in some ways I would agree with that, because, there, and this is nothing against people that do this, but there are some people that pay to go through shamanic training and rituals. And then there are some people that say that you can never pay for that, right? And so there is those schools of thought. And to me, certification is like buying a book, right? You're going to certification not because it's the end all be all, but because it's the beginning of a journey. It's the beginning of an understanding of who you are, what you're going to do, how to work with your intuition. But the real work and the real certification comes within you, of listening to spirit, using your own gifts and your own guidance. And do we have to be certified in these things? No, we don't. But sometimes it helps, like my medical intuition course, we talk about how to deal with trauma, how to refer out ethically, how to act ethically and responsibly, and things that sometimes you may or may not know on your own. Just having spiritual gifts, being born with spiritual gifts is one thing, but being able to learn how to utilize them in a way that is helpful and not harmful is a different story. And if I may, I'm going to tell a quick story about this.
Perfect.
I had a medical intuition client that came to me a few months back, and she was like in despair. And she goes, okay, I had this reading with this other psychic, and she told me there's sexual trauma in my body, that I was molested as a child. And she goes, I know I wasn't. I know for a fact that never happened to me, but now I'm so worried. Maybe I forgot about something, and something else happened. And so I started scanning her, and she did have the energy of a sexual trauma with her body. And I was like, this is here. And I told her, I said, look, I am actually picking up sex trauma too. However, in my experience, this could be ancestral, generational, inherited. This may not even be yours. So let me sit with this, sit with spirit, sit with your subconscious, and ask for more information. And we actually found that it was actually a generational sexual trauma that started like 4 generations back. And that the sexual trauma that was ingrained with her body was actually a birth trauma, where she was, had a really rough birth. The nurses were not kind to her, and it ingrained as a sexual trauma in her body. And so she was able to get clarity on that. And she's like, oh yeah, I know all these things that happened. This all makes sense now.
Yeah.
But she was living in chaos because somebody told her she had been molested.
Yes.
And that's the difference between someone who has gifts and then someone trained to understand, how do we take this further? How do we gain greater knowledge, light, and understanding that's
and
not harmful?
How do we discern that information?
Yeah.
Like what part of that? Because we can impregnate memories almost, or like through imagination, and the body responds as it being real, right? Yeah. Wow. The thing that comes to mind for me, Melissa, too, I just wanted to speak to this, is I have exactly the same, or had exactly the same thoughts, right, about becoming certified. It's just a piece of paper. But one thing I've realized just through my own program is how important certification is to people. It's not about becoming certified. It's actually about, like, for me, what I've noticed is people are proud of going through and committing to themselves for the program, putting everything in to gain the knowledge. And the certification to me is more about recognition to self that they've accomplished something. So one thing for me, most of my clients haven't achieved anything for themselves most of their life because they've been showing up for so many other people. They've not been showing up for themselves. And more often than not, the people that come into my programs, it's the first time they've invested in themselves, like in that sort of way. So it's more about the recognition of that. It's not about, the accolades and all that sort of stuff, which is why now my program's certified, because I feel like, for me, it's not my place. That's a belief that I have, but that's my belief. It's not everyone else's belief and what they want. So yeah, it doesn't make the course any different. The program's the same. I used to resist about anyone's like, it's certified, but yeah, I think.
Well, and certification opens up doors as well. Like when I first got my Reiki certification, I became Reiki certified because I wanted to go to the hospitals. One of my children was in ICU like 8 years ago for an asthma thing. And they brought in a Reiki master that helped work with him. And I was so profoundly touched by it. I was like, I want to come do energy healing at the hospital too, but they wouldn't allow me without that certificate, or like with my intuitive life coach credentialings and certifications, an ICF certified life coach in some states and countries can actually be covered by insurance.
Yes.
And so there are some other benefits that come along with that as
Absolutely. Well. Absolutely. To me, certification is teaching someone a certain way that works. Like for me, you got like people that work with me know that I'm not here to give you a rule book. I'm here to give you a structure to learn the structure and take what works for you, right? As long as we stay in energetic alignment, that's all that counts to me. But yes, definitely. I want to revisit your son. So first of all, I want to make sure, how is he doing?
He's doing very well. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. For those of you that don't know Stacee Magee, on TikTok, she's known as Spirit Fluid. I remember, was it at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, it was March 12th.
March 12th.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the moment I came across your TikTok of you sharing that you wouldn't be on for a while because your son had been in such a tragic accident and you were asking for healing. And I was like, oh, I'm welling up now. I remember feeling like, as a mother, how terrible it must have been. So how did it unfold? Did you get a phone call?
Yeah. So it was Sunday morning, March 12th. And I remember it was right around 10 a.m. And my daughter, Shauna, calls me and she's like, Mom, Shane's been shot. And I was like, at first I was like, what? What happened? And she's freaking out. And everybody around me is freaking out. Like, she's crying. My son's fiance is crying, screaming. She's like, we don't know where he is. We can't find him. Nobody's telling us any information. I didn't know back at the time that because he was a victim of a crime, they put them under a pseudonym at the hospital so that someone can't come find him and finish the job, right? And so he was Victor, and he was like 114 years old. So every time we called the hospital, no one could find him. And the interesting thing is everybody around me was panicking, but this very still calm came over my heart, and I knew he was going to be okay. I didn't know how. I didn't know why. I had no information about him at that time. I just knew he was going to be okay. And so it took us from then till about 6 p.m. before finally the detective was like, here, he's at this hospital. He's in protective custody. The only person that can go and know about him is me. And so for the first 3 days, I was there alone with my son, and that was it. And nobody else could know that he was there. And then they would finally let my husband in and some of the other people. But he was shot in the face, trying to stop basically a bad guy who was wreaking havoc at a gas station. And he tried to defuse arguments, and the guy went out to his car, came back, and shot him in the face. The injuries were pretty profound, and I didn't talk about the injuries intentionally as we were going through the process, because if people knew about how bad it was, I felt like they were going to put such despair towards it that it could affect his healing. So I intentionally didn't share, but he was shot in the face and the bullet went through, part came out on his jaw, the rest came through and completely dissected, cut through his jugular vein and artery in his neck, and then lodged up on his spine. The miracles that happened through all of that process and understanding my spiritual gifts and things were just so profound. I mean, the ambulance was less than 50 feet away. He was still coherent enough to tell somebody to put pressure on the wound that he learned from first aid training. But even his body was designed to be in this experience, which is, it sounds weird, but we have a clotting disorder in our family where our blood clots too thickly. But that was a big thing for him because it meant that he bled slower. The doctor said normally the artery structure in your jaw goes up into your cheek. His arteries went back into his brain, giving his brain extra blood. So when all the blood flow was cut off to his brain and he started having strokes, he had extra blood flow that was actually designed for his body. But it was just, and the whole time, I was like, he's going to be okay. And I mean, literally people coming in, talking to me about organ donation. I was asking the doctors about what's the prognosis. And they're like, we've never seen anybody survive these kind of injuries. We don't know. And so all I could do was just go into trust with my original intuition. And it's something I tell about all the time. Ignore your self-doubts, ignore guessing, just what's your original intuition. And my original intuition was that he was going to be okay. And so I was, nobody else could convince me of anything else. I stayed away from Google, and we just did a shit ton of Reiki and energy healing. I protected his room. We had crystals. They let me, they even brought in and made me a little diffuser in his room for lavender. And people would walk in his room and they go, this feels like a church in here. And I'm like, because I protected that space. And that's what we did for like 28 days until he got out. And even after being shot in the face, having 2 strokes, he's almost completely recovered. He actually was out playing softball this weekend, baseball.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, everybody was like, wow.
And the scar? Can you tell us all about the scar?
Yes. So the scar, and maybe I'll see if I can pull up a picture for you really quick. I don't know, it might be too gruesome. I'll keep it down.
Okay.
But his scar was actually in the shape of a cross on his cheek.
Yeah.
But here's the weird part. He called me about a week or two ago and he goes, Mom, I was in the shower and I was scrubbing my face and my scar. And he goes, my scar fell off. And I was like, scars don't fall off, honey. Scars are supposed to stay there. And he goes, no, it's gone. And he sent me a picture. There is literally no evidence of the scarring. He had a divot in his face, all gone. He looks almost completely normal.
Wow.
The only thing he's got left is just there's some bullet fragments in his neck. And they said those will be there probably the rest of his life. But we were just like, oh my God. But even when he was in the hospital, and this is one thing that helped me strengthen my gifts, was that I was seeing certain entities and spirits around the hospital. And I was like, am I going crazy? But then he started having his spiritual awakening. And he was like, Mom, do you see that guy standing in the corner? Mom, do you see this? And I'm like, oh shit, he's seeing what I see. Okay. Yep, that's real.
That's real.
So, yeah, it was insane, but it was, I still get a little triggered about it. I still have a hard time scrolling back and looking at the videos on my TikTok. And sometimes when I start talking about it, it's like, ooh, I still got some trauma to work through on that one. Yeah, everybody asking me like, are you okay?
Mama trauma. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was okay. I'm great in crisis, but everybody's like, are you okay? Yeah. I'm like, I'm good now, but I'll need therapy later.
It catches up later. It does.
It does.
And so how many kids do you have?
7.
Whoa. Did you buy a TV after all of that?
Did I buy a TV? No, we've always had TV. So
okay. So your sons had the awakening. Whereabouts on the scale of 1 to 7 is your son?
With
a child.
He's my oldest.
He's your oldest. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I know we all have spiritual gifts, but are your kids completely open, or are some of them shut down?
Well, they're all in varying stages. My son is opening back up and understanding his gifts right now. His sister Shauna, the next one, she's really spiritual, and she even teaches things. She's like, Mom, I learned how to go sit with my higher self and ask my higher self questions. And I'm like, dude, come teach me. That's awesome. So she's we're teaching each other, which is cool. My daughter Vanessa has shut everything down. She's like, don't want it. And I'm like, oh shit, someone's gonna have fun with that later. My son in the Army kind of shut down. My son, they all kind of use them here and there. My daughter Zen, my youngest, sees ghosts all the time, and she'll sit there and talk to me about stuff, and then other times she won't. She's got harsh ones like I do, more of the shadow side of stuff. And my son James, he's got them too, but he's also 15 and plays football, and so he's more focused on sports and girls right now. But every once in a while he'll come to me and say something super profound, and I'm like, yeah. So I'm just kind of letting them all go on their own journey. My husband and I, we're kind of feral parents, so I'm like, if they need my help, they know they can come to me. And otherwise I just kind of sit back and watch and let them do their thing. But I will say, actually, I have a grandchild. My grandson, oh shit, man, he is super spiritual. This weekend, he was like, Grandma, I was talking to the bunny in the front yard, and the bunny was telling me it was scared, but I told it was okay, and I gave it some water, and then I shit you not, this bunny started bringing flowers and leaving it on the front patio of the house.
That's awesome.
And we're like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I talk to the animals, Grandma, but he says, but Spirit tells me who I can and cannot tell about these things. And sometimes I talk to God too. And this is a child that's actually never been in church. So it's just we're like, well, okay then. So yeah, everybody's got gifts. They're just varied on what they are and who's actually using them.
How old's the grandchild?
I'm actually not going to say, because his mother is very against all of this stuff. And so I don't want it to be clear which. I have 5 grandchildren.
No. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, you got 5?
I do.
1. I love them.
They're so
You can
much
like
fun.
love them and give them back.
Yes, that's my theory too. It's like grandkids are all the fun of being a parent without all the work,
Yeah.
because you're like, they cuddle you. Oh, you need a diaper change?
Yeah.
Go back to your mom.
That's it. Here you go.
Here you
I
go.
love
Let me
that.
cuddle you. And yeah, you get all the fun parts without all the work. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So, can you share a success story or a profound experience that you've experienced that's made a significant difference in someone's spiritual journey that you've helped?
oh my gosh, there's just been
Where
so
do I
many.
start? This
Oh,
woman
I
is
know.
like magic.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel like I would sound like I'm bragging to say this, but I will anyways. Like, so many people are just like, they keep telling me about the life-changing experiences working with me. You know, I think I go back to, I had this client, and a lot of my clients end up being my friends, especially if we work for a long time. And it's, I had somebody tell me once, never become friends with your clients. I'm like, dude, I can't help it. They're awesome. But she was actually very high up in a very well-known corporation. I won't say which company, you know, C-suite level. And we started working in healing. And, you know, one of the things that I do work with a lot is people who've experienced sex trauma. It's not something that I advertise, but they just, I think they know, because I've experienced it, that I'm someone that can help them, like subconsciously or something. And so I remember working with her, and her childhood abuse came up, and she was like, how do you know this? I've told no one, like literally no one knows besides me and the person who did it. How do you know? And I was like, well, the spiritual gifts, you know. But we started working together weekly on healing. And it was very interesting because she was in a very high-paced, stressful job. And as she started to heal, she became misaligned with that corporate structure, and actually ended up getting let go from that company. And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, that's not a success story. She got fired. To me, it is, because she was no longer aligned to that toxic structure. And last I heard, now she's doing something she absolutely loves. And I remember telling her about 6 months before she got let go, I said, I have a feeling you're going to get let go from this job soon. Because, you know, as we heal, we become misaligned with whatever's around us. And she was like, okay. And so I think the success story in this is that because we were able to work with her healing, she was, one, mentally prepared to handle it, but two, she was ready, because at a corporate structure, they shut down your laptops, they get all of your data. There was some improprieties with this company. And so she was able to like gather all the stuff she needed to protect herself before everything got shut down. And it was just awesome to see her grow and like heal, because she originally came to me for medical intuition because she had stomach issues. And so she healed physically and spiritually. And now she's just aligned to an awesome life that she loves, and she's not stressed out and overworked and sick anymore. So.
I think that's beautiful. I think, you know, one thing that people think when they start to heal is that everything is it should be all rosy, and when it's not, they get down. I'm like, but you're growing and you're committing to your path. When you commit to your path, all the stuff that doesn't serve you just starts to peel and fall away. And sometimes it does look like tower moments. Sometimes that does look like absolute utter destruction, right?
Yeah.
I love this saying by, I can't think of the lady's name, but it's about perturbation. And it's like when a seed like literally explodes and its guts fall out, people will often look at that and say that just looks like utter destruction. But in fact, the seed has to do that to break through the soil and send that shoot up and grow into like a really big tree. So yeah, I love that you shared that experience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
love the saying that you can't see the stars without the darkness, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah. The darker the nights, the brighter the stars.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I love that.
really.
So before we wrap up, oh yeah, go Jen.
No, that's
I think
okay.
we're both going to ask the same thing. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
I'm just gonna fill in with spirit and channel. This is usually what I do is I just ask spirit, what should I share? And I feel inspired to say, like, every journey is unique. Every ability is unique and different, and embrace your uniqueness and your unique path. Don't feel like you have to be on the same journey at the same timing as everyone else. That it's okay if you're doing things your own way, because that's the best way to do them. That there's no rules in the spiritual world. That if you hold on to hard and fast rules, you're going to miss beautiful life experiences and knowledge from spirit. And so just allow yourself to be present with your own journey. And don't be afraid to ask for guidance and for help along the way. But also don't be afraid to be alone, because sometimes we need to be alone so that we can hear spirit.
Yeah. It's in the quietness that we hear. Beautiful. Very wise words.
Thank you so much, Stacee, for joining us today and providing such valuable insights into spirituality and self-discovery.
Yes, it's been a truly eye-opening conversation. And to our listeners and our viewers, if you're interested in exploring more, make sure you check out Stacee's book, Spiritual Awakening is a Shit Show, and her upcoming release, Tattoo Medicine.
Stay connected with us on social media, and don't forget to take the free Soul Purpose quizzes on Stacee's Medical Intuitive course through the links that we shared in the below.
Yeah, Jen did it, and she was raving about it to me this morning. So just remember, everyone, the journey of spiritual awakening is unique to each individual. Embrace the adventure, and may you find the clarity and purpose you seek on your path to self-discovery.
Until next time, keep elevating your spiritual awakening.
Big love.
Stay curious, guys.
Bye.